Second. Okay, now we're recording. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Bree. If you guys are just hopping on, make sure that you mute. That way we don't have any background noise. Okay. So Bree is married to her husband, Brad, and they have 4 awesome kids. They live in Parker, Colorado. So Deidre, we have we have a couple Coloradians. Is that what you say? Dana on here. She said yes to Juice Plus because her kids were sick all the time and they really needed a health solution. Her passion for health and nutrition grew after they had such incredible results from these little fruits and veggies. What she didn't realize then was how this business would change their lives and truly give them hope. One of the best decisions she ever made was saying yes to this business. She's worked for the Juice Plus company for 12 years and is a 75 Club national marketing director. She's been nominated for 2 Elton Awards and has a thriving team. This business has impacted Bree and her entire family in so many ways, and she's thankful to God for bringing it into their lives. And their latest update is that her husband is home and they are working Juice Plus together. So that's really fun. So I'm just going to start off and have you share with everybody a little bit about how did your journey get started? How did you get from the point of learning about Juice Plus to saying yes in the first place?
Well, thanks for having me on. You guys are such a special team. You have no idea how much I love Leah. And I know some of the rest of you on this team, and I'm just so honored that you asked me and that you wanted me on for a year. I'm like, you're so funny. Anyway, that just made my night. Okay. So that's a great question. And it's funny because, gosh, in the beginning, let's see, I'm trying to think of how in the beginning do I want to start. Somebody has some background noise. I don't think it's me. There's maybe it's headphones or something. I don't know. So maybe if you're muted, just to make sure that everyone can hear. Okay. But I was going to say that I love that when I did not know what Juice Plus was, and I had these friends that were so willing to pursue me. And I don't know that I've ever said it like that, but just right now, like that's kind of how it hit me, is that they were willing to continue pursuing us when my husband and I kept saying no. So they kept inviting us to events all the time. And at the time, I was pretty brand new married. My husband and I had only been married for 6 months, and he already had 4 kids. So I became like this brand new instant mom, and I was 26 years old, and I got 4 kids, like right off the bat. And here's what I know. So I'm going back a little bit before Juice Plus. I already had these friends that talked about Juice Plus, but I was like, I don't really know what that is. So I think I just kind of tuned them out every time they would talk. But they knew that when we got married, we didn't have any money because I had quit my job, so the kids didn't have to be in daycare anymore. And they also knew that our kids were sick a lot. And so with those 2 things being said, they loved us well enough to keep pursuing and to keep just saying, hey, will you guys just come check this out? And I remember thinking, whatever it is, I don't know, it sounds like a vitamin. No thanks, we're really busy and we don't have any money. So I feel badly that I just like wrote them off, and I assumed that I knew exactly what they were trying to invite me to, and I was so wrong. So thankfully they kept pursuing me, they kept inviting. And this one time I remember, this was the best, you guys, because remember, we have 0 money. We never really ate out unless it was McDonald's, because we could eat off the dollar menu like pretty cheap. And so that's sort of what we did a lot. And I think that's really why our kids were so sick, but we didn't know that there was any kind of connection. So I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I'm sure in a group this size, there's somebody who maybe would say, yeah, I didn't know there was any connection between nutrition and disease before I heard about this. Okay, cool. Somebody's raising their hand. I only could see 4 people on my screen, but somebody, thank you, Lauren, for raising your hand. I really didn't know they were connected. So then here we are. They say, hey, you guys, we would love for you to bring your kids. Please bring your kids, and let's hear this talk about kids nutrition. And literally, I almost said no, but then there was a little note that she had handwritten on this invitation that she sent in the mail. Remember, this was almost 13 years ago. And she said, if you guys come to this, we would love to treat your family to dinner. Please bring the kids. And you guys, I seriously mean this, that like I literally only said yes to this business. Or I mean, not to this business, sorry. I only said yes to going that night because I thought, that's dinner for our family and it's not at McDonald's. And so sure, I will go. In my head, I think I was kind of thinking somewhere in the back of my head, like, oh, well, it's like one of those timeshare things. So maybe if I go and I just have to hear about this thing, but we get a free dinner, okay, sign me up. So we went, and the whole time, you guys, my 6-year-old son, who it was the cutest thing ever. He brought a little notepad that he made out of paper, and he was taking notes. And I remember looking over it, and I don't think I've ever told this part of my story. I see him, he's like writing down these little notes in his little, you know, when they're like 6 years old, they're writing words, but you can't tell what they mean because they're sounding them out. Anyway, he's writing these things, and he's trying to write down things like partially hydrogenated oils and high fructose corn syrup. And I remember looking at him and going, holy cow, like he's learning something. Why did I keep saying no to this for so long? Just because I thought I knew what this was. So fast forward, it was actually Jennifer Myers, for those of you who know who she is. She's the one that did this talk. And the whole time I'm fascinated. She's not talking anything at the beginning of this talk at all, except for like really facts, how to label read, how to know how to feed your family healthy. And I literally was like, this isn't what I expected this to be at all. And at the end, she basically said, if you're not actually going to eat all these fruits and veggies, and if your kids aren't going to do that, by the way, here's Juice Plus. It's backed by a lot of research, and it's one of the best things that in my mind that you could ever do for your family, because it helps bridge that gap between what you are eating and what you should eat. And I literally had my jaw like on the floor thinking, I wish I would have listened to them sooner. Again, thankful that they were willing to keep pursuing me. And here's a piece of my story, you guys, that I never, ever will forget the feeling that I had, and I won't ever forget the look on my husband's face. As soon as it was over, he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, honey, I feel like I've been killing the kids and I didn't even know. And it about broke my heart, you guys, because he was like realizing that all this McDonald's in their body for years had been wreaking havoc, and no wonder they were sick. Well, the very next thing out of his mouth is he looked at me with this like, so it was sadness. Then he looked at me with this determination and he said, we can't afford not to be on Juice Plus. And I said, okay. So that night I signed up to be a rep, and I thought, you know, I don't know, I don't want to do anything with this, but maybe if I could save like $10 a year, in my mind, that felt like it would be worth it, because in our, you know, we were living on food stamps and Medicaid. I don't think I said that yet. Food stamps and Medicaid. And literally we lived on like $750 a month, you guys, for a family of 6. Like, other than God, I have no idea how that worked, because on paper it just didn't. But I remember thinking, okay, that would feel like $1,000 if we could save 10. And so I just signed up for the business. But I said to my friend, with like a very snarky face, I'm sure, one hand on my hip, and I'm not exaggerating, you guys, I really went like this to her, and I said, just so you know, I'm never telling anyone about this stuff. Okay. So like, I'm signing up, but I'm never telling anyone. And she just smiled at me, again, willing to just pursue me and love me right where I was. And even amidst my stubbornness. And she said, okay, that's fine. And so I went home, we started taking it. And you guys, within 3 weeks, our son's eczema totally went away. My husband's heartburn that he used to take prescription meds for was gone. I didn't need a nap every afternoon anymore. And my taste for Diet Coke totally went away. And I used to be like a junkie. And when I say that, I mean literally like I could drink Diet Coke easier than water. And it started tasting like chemicals to me. And I started having energy, and my face cleared up, and my kids were not getting sick. We were like, what the heck is in this stuff? Because we feel so good. But granted, let me just say this as like a little side note. Probably most families in America do not notice these kind of changes to the dramatic degree we did in 3 weeks. But when you're a family of 6 and you're eating a dead food all the time, and it's like McDonald's or mac and cheese and fruit snacks, like you're probably going to, you're probably going to have a little more to notice right away than other people. But my point is that my husband was so blown away that he looked at the research and he's like, okay, honey, between what's happened with our family and the research, he goes, I feel like we have this obligation that we have to share this with people. And I feel like this is our new ministry. And I remember kind of looking at him like, I don't get this. And P.S., I told Kathy I wasn't ever telling anyone, but I was sort of like, I get your point. Like, you're right. So I started sharing, just very, very small in the beginning. But you guys, when people started thanking me within that first month, like my dad and my sister and people that I really cared about, thanking me for sharing the story with them, I like was blown away. And I realized, okay, I'm making a paycheck, but I'm making this difference already. And it was kind of blowing my mind. And I thought, well, what if I just do some more? So for me, that was kind of, I'm going to talk about a few turning points tonight, but that was one of the turning points for me, was when all of a sudden I realized that I was helping somebody. And I kind of realized, probably not so much consciously, because I don't think I realized this until years down the road, but the reason that I said the whole thing of like, I'm never telling anyone, is because I was being selfish. I was so afraid of what people might think of me. But then when I realized it was helping people, it took that away, right? Have you guys know what I'm talking about? Like if, especially those of you who are a part of this mission already, when you share with someone and you realize, one, you'd share it with anyone, regardless of whether you ever made a paycheck or not, you realize you're doing the right thing. And then also, I think when you can just take yourself outside of the situation, realize this isn't about you anyway, but like this could really change someone's life, you're going to do it. And so that was a powerful point for me. So pretty quickly we started making like $500 a month, which you guys remember me saying we were making like 750. So I almost doubled our income within the first, I don't know, few months. So to how many people you know, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands again, but I want you to write this down if you have anything to write down with. I want you to write down if you know anyone, like you can just put a yes or no. If you know anyone that $500 a month could be like a life altering blessing for them. Like, somebody, I don't know, maybe it's a missionary family. Maybe it's the single mom across the street. I'm staying with a friend right now. And it was interesting as we were pulling in yesterday, she goes, well, and she's in a new neighborhood. And she's like, that's a single mom right there. And that's a single mom right there. And I said, well, I think both those single moms need to know about this business. And she's like, you're so right. And I just think like when we know what we have our hands on, it's so hard to want to keep that to ourselves, right? But how many of you know someone that $500 a month would change their future like really significantly? And I don't know if you've heard this statistic or not, but most people who are thinking about filing for bankruptcy, they know that there's like a statistic that like $300 to $500 a month, or maybe it's even as low as $200 to $500 a month, could totally save someone from having to go through bankruptcy. So it's a big deal. So anyway, back to my story. That was huge when that happened. And I won't go into all the details, but if you want more, I can tell Leah later. But there was one specific time where we had zero money left in our account, and we had rent that was coming out the next day and a bunch of other bills. And my Juice Plus check, it was like still kind of new. It was probably like 6 months in, and I remember I got a direct deposit, so I didn't know what my paycheck was going to be. I had no idea. And the next day, you guys, it didn't overdraft our account. And I remember thinking like, wait a minute, what happened? And I went and I checked, and it's because Juice Plus had deposited a check that was $864, which literally left us with like about $5 in the clear. Otherwise, we would have overdrafted like everything. And I remember my husband looking at me, tears in his eyes again. You guys, he doesn't cry that much, but I'm making it sound like he does. He doesn't. But he had tears in his eyes, and he said, honey, I feel like Juice Plus is giving our family hope about our finances. I love that it's giving us hope. And that, like, we thought that it was going to be way down the road because he was in school to be an attorney. So he was going to be in school for like ever. And so we thought that hope wasn't going to come until he was an attorney. And that felt like a lifetime away because he was still in undergrad. So when all of a sudden I realized like, wow, I quit my job and I decided to stay home with these kids because I really felt like that's what the Lord was leading me to do. And so I did. And we had like faith that he was going to take care of us, and he did. But then all of a sudden when like little old me, who was staying home with these kids, trying to figure out how to be a mom, right? I'm 26 and I've got kids that are like age 6 to age 11. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But yet, like, I start bringing in this income, and my husband is like thanking me because it was getting us through. That was another huge moment, I think, for me, like a big turning point when I realized that I could have an effect on our family income that I never dreamed I could have without having a real job, if you will. This is way better than a real job for those of you who are not that familiar with this. I promise it is. But at the time, that's all I knew what to see. And so fast forward, my paycheck just really kept growing. I was able to help get my husband through law school, which, you guys, that was pretty cool. Another big turning point for me was when my best friend decided to join my business. And this was 4 years into my own business. So I was doing it, but I just hadn't found anyone that wanted to do this business with me. And so then I really started kind of working to get that done. And I will tell you that it was really cool because she was hungry. She wanted this. Like, she wanted this probably even more than I knew how to want this, if that even makes sense. So when she came along and said, I have to make like $500 right away because I'm borrowing money from my dad every month. And she's like, I'm a married woman with kids, and that's kind of ridiculous, and I need to make some money. So I said, okay, well, let me help you. But I had to step up a little bit to learn how to help her because I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I did. And this is another big turning point for me is, for those of you who have been around a while, you hear Jay Martin say, find a buddy. And I did. And I found this buddy, and she decided she wanted to go for this. So then quickly I helped her start getting $500 a month. So you know what that does? Then I started earning more money a month. But the cool thing that I love that one of my mentors, Sean Meyer, says is the only way we succeed in our business is by helping other people succeed in their own dreams and goals. And that's pretty huge when you guys think about that, because what other job out there does that? I mean, no offense to corporate America, but that's not the model in corporate America. Like if you help someone do really well in corporate America, they get your job. Or am I saying that right? Yeah, they get your job. They would replace you if you teach someone to do their job really well. But in this business, it just helps you do better. And you get to be so proud of those people when you watch them achieve their goals. It's way more exciting than when you just hit them yourselves. And so that's pretty cool. So anyway, again, fast forward, I helped Brad get through a couple of like first law jobs that were like his bosses didn't pay him. Or one month I remember he made like $700. And I was like, what is happening? You have your law degree. Like, this is part of the story. But my income had grown so much by then that it was even helping us to get through those times. And then 4 years ago in the fall, I made national marketing director, which is the top level of our company, for those of you who maybe don't know what that is. And it was really cool because I got to stand on the stage. And Leah, how are we doing on time? I don't have that time in front of me. Like 5 minutes or less?
We've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay. But if this part, like I'll just wrap this up in the next few minutes, this part, and then you can ask away. Okay, so I'm standing on the stage, I give my speech, and this is in front of like, I don't know, 7,000 people, something like that. Which PS, by the way, in the beginning of this business, if you would have told me that I needed to do that, that would have scared the heck out of me. But the growth that I experienced in this business, by the time I was ready, I was still nervous before I went on the stage, but I was so excited to get to share this story. But I'm standing there, and my youngest at the time, so when we started Juice Plus, he was 6. When I made national marketing director, he was 15. So it took me 8.5 years, so you don't have to do the math, to get to national marketing director. But what was so cool and why I wanted to tell this story is this son is now turning 20 next month, okay? But when he was 15, he's standing on the stage, and he's watching me, his mom, give this speech to all these people about my journey, about our story, about our family. And, 3 of our 4 kids were there, and my husband and my dad were all on the stage with me. And at the end of it, he comes up to me, and this was like the weirdest thing, because for those of you who have boys that are 15, they don't usually get like very deep and real with you. Like that's just, they do when they're older, but not so much at 15. So he looks at me. This was so confusing for me. It was after I get off the stage, he comes up to me, puts his hands on my shoulders, and I want you to picture this. And he looks me straight in the eyes, and he says, "Mom, I want to thank you for making NMD." And I was like, what? I'm thinking, why is he thanking me? So I kind of go, what? Like I thought I heard him wrong. And he looks at me, and he's like more serious, and he's taller than me. So he's looking down at me, and he's straight in the eye again. And he goes, "Mom, I really want to thank you for making NMD." And then I looked at him and I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "Mom, I've watched you for the last 8.5 years." And he's like, "I watched you work at something, and I watched you never give up." Whew, I can hardly ever get through this without crying. I did it last week, but I can't do it tonight. And he said, "I watched you never give up." And he said, "You were diligent and you were faithful." And he was like, "You've helped a lot of people get healthy." And he said, "I just want you to know that you taught me that I can do anything in my life, whatever it is, that I can do it." And I just remember thinking like, wow, this scared little girl that was scared to death to be a mom. But then, 4 kids all of a sudden, because I had no experience. And then I was scared to do this business, which is really why I said that whole, like, never telling anyone, because I was scared of what people would think of me. I almost let that come in the way of, like, teaching my son this incredible lesson that, again, for a 15-year-old, they think that usually everything you say is, like, dumb. If you see the sky is blue, they're like, "No, it's purple." And that was him at 15. So the fact that this kid was saying that to me, and Leah knows him, it's Noah. Like, for the fact that that kid was saying that stuff to me was, like, mind-blowing. But I realized that I taught my kids a valuable lesson that I could have never done any other way had I not said yes to this little accidental business that I sort of stumbled upon, although I know I didn't stumble upon it. I know God brought it to me, and it's been such a gift. But at the time, I almost said no, and what if I would have missed out on that? I also, the same day, had one of my team members, her name's Kristen Noland, and she is an NMD working on 24 Club on my team. And she came to me the same day and said, "I want to thank you for making NMD." And I'm like, what is it with all these people thanking me? You're welcome, but it's pretty fun for me, so I don't know why you're thanking me. But she said, I saw all these people make NMD these last few years. And she goes, I didn't know any of them, but you're my upline and I know you and I work with you. And, you know, she's a few people down even. She's actually a few NMDs down underneath me. But she said, watching you do this has shown me that I can do it too. So again, like when we step into these things that I believe are our calling, it's amazing to see that ripple effect that you have no idea of what you're doing. So talking about turning points for me, like that was huge. And then fast forwarding, you know, I just started making more than my husband, who was now had his own law firm. So he was definitely making more than his $700 a month at one time from that law firm. But I started making more money than him after I made NMD. And we were both like, this is crazy. We don't understand. We never anticipated this, but we were so excited and we were so passionate about turning around and helping other people do it. And one of the things we say on our team is we raise up NMDs. And not only do we raise up NMDs, but I think that we raise up sales coordinators, or we raise up people to make $500 a month, or we raise up a mom to feel confident that she's building something into her kids other than just, and again, don't hear me saying this wrong because it's not just, like definitely not just. But sometimes I think as moms, you know, and I don't know if you guys feel like this, but I've just heard from so many women who love being home with their kids. So again, not to take away from that, I think it's the best job that we can do to raise up this next generation. But sometimes we feel like we want something that we can kind of also call our own, that's kind of outside of that we can make a difference, or we know that we're impacting other people. And you know what? I've learned it's so good for our kids because they see us serving the world and they don't just see us like making our world about them. And so I love that we get to have this huge impact. And, you know, there might be some of you on this call that aren't part of this mission yet, or maybe you're taking a peek at this, or maybe you're a customer who so loves their Juice Plus. And I just say, like, what if there's more for you? Like, I feel like this truly is my calling to help set people free. And what I mean by that is, I mean, I could go into a whole other thing and I won't, but like, I just really feel like God put me on this earth to help set people free. And I feel like a piece of this is about helping them in their health and helping them in their finances to truly be free. But ultimately, I want people to know Him. And so I just get so excited about that. And I love that, like, this little thing that started out as these little fruits and vegetables. I wish I had some to like throw them in my hand right now. But like these little fruits and veggies in a capsule, I love to say that it's like, it turned into so much more. It's more like freedom in a capsule, and hope in a capsule, and growth in a capsule, or purpose. You know, it's like things that I never even would have imagined. And yet I feel like I was totally born for such a time as this. And we're seeing all these amazing things happen. And so anyway, that's kind of my vision for how I want to impact this world. But the fact that a year ago, my husband, and Leah said this in my bio, but just to close up with this, that at least this part of it, and then I think she's going to ask a couple questions, but my husband really felt like it was time to close up his law practice. He said, I was watching you do the things you wanted to do with your kid, with our kids, with my team, with, you know, my friends. He was seeing all that. And he's like, you're having a great time, but you're making this huge impact. And he said, I feel like all I'm doing is helping people fight about their money. And he's like, that I just don't feel like that measures up with my values or what I want. And I miss you guys. And so there was one day where he actually was like really sad and said, I want your life. And I said, okay. And so we really prayed, and we felt like the time was last year. So last November, he closed his law practice, came home, and he's doing Juice Plus with me. And, you know, last weekend he spoke at a regional that we had in Denver, actually. And I was in Canada speaking at another regional. It was like the craziest thing. I'm like, how weird is this that we're both speaking today? It was his first time, like all by himself speaking. And I'm like, and we get to share this message like in different, you know, countries at the same time. And I just am so proud of him, because watching him be so passionate about it, and also letting him have time with the kids that he never got to have before. Like, it's just been a dream come true. So that was the long version of my story, but there may have been pieces in there that you really needed to hear, like different people for different reasons. So again, I felt led to kind of take that in a different direction than normal, but that's my story. So Leah, what else can I answer for
that? Well, that alone, like if we got off right now, I'm pretty sure everybody has been wiping their eyes. Just the realness. Thank you so much for just being vulnerable. I mean, I've heard your story before, but there are parts in there I haven't heard before. And our stories they matter so much, because it's easy, to assume that a person that's achieved a certain level of success, that it just came easy for them, and that life somehow they were set up to, have that level of success. And I think when we hear stories, it grounds us, and it reminds us, like, each of us truly have the opportunity to choose. We get to choose, if we, take the opportunity to embrace this journey and see what it really has for us. So, this is kind of just more of like a really nitty gritty, super practical question, but I know that we have a lot of people on the call who, they see the vision, they want to take steps forward, and they have, I think, like, just where they are in life, like they have some of those really deep needs and desires for their family, maybe even like sometimes in drastic scenarios, and like needing the financial stream of income and things like that, and have really big desires with their business this year. And so I guess, one question I would ask is, what encouragement would you give based on, what you share with your team, and even what you did when you were in that place, that you feel like really helped propel you to growing your income after you started your business?
That's a good question. And I feel like there's a few different times I've kind of had to do this. But I think I looked at other people and I saw, okay, that person over there did this. And okay, that person over there, like I heard their story, or it was an NMD speech or whatever. And it gave me the confidence. And I hope to give you guys the same confidence just because I'm saying this, but I hope it will sink in. Like, I want you to look at Leah or at me or at whoever and go, okay, if that person can do it, then I can do it too. I mean, that should propel us, right? And so it did. I would look at it and go, okay, I love where I see that person is, and I want that too, so I need to do it. But I also knew that because, like, really it's a track record, if you will, like you see all these people doing it. And so when you see them doing it, you know that it can be done. It's not like some things where only like somebody remote that knows somebody else, whatever, is making any money. Like, what it is real here, you guys, it's totally real in this business that like real people are making money. And so what I think is I realized what I had my hands on. And I remember my husband saying that to me at one point. He's like, we have our hands on this, but right now, and this was when he had first gotten out of law school and like people weren't hiring and all that. And that was like the $700 a month thing that he, all that. There was a time too, he didn't get hired for like 9 months anywhere. And so he said, we have our hands on this business. I kind of think we need to just like step into it more. And I remember being like, yeah, why haven't I stepped into this more? So I just need to do this. So it was kind of like one of those things where I realized it was possible. And I think that's an important piece that I wanted to make sure I said, because I think that sometimes when you don't have that belief that you can do it, you just need to look over and go, okay, I see this person doing it, and that gives me hope. I can do this too. So then you can kind of step into that and say, it's here and it's available. And there are so many people that have never even tried Juice Plus. Do you guys know that like less than 3% of the people in the entire US have ever even tried Juice Plus? So if you think of it like that, I want you to also know that there is a wide, huge, amazingly big open market. And to give you another little perspective, I'm a 75 club making a great 6-figure income, like a really strong one. But here's the cool thing is that I want to just ask, like, okay, can someone tell me this? Like, maybe pop it in the chat box. Will you take a guess how many customers I have? Okay, I would let this, I've never done this before, but this might be kind of fun. I want you to just guess, like, how many customers do you think I have when I have all this? Okay, 67. All right, keep coming. I will tell you that it is, there's a lady on our team named Kathy Murphy, and she has the most customers of anyone on our team, and she has 70. So just to give you that perspective, I don't think anyone said over 70. All right, these are all too high. You guys are getting closer. Rachel's close. One more guess. Okay, higher than that, Rachel. 27. I have 27 customers. So here's why I'm telling you this. Again, I don't even know why I said this, but the reason I wanted you to guess is because I figured that they were going to be high. I figured you guys were going to think it was more than it is. It's not because I don't care about people. And there was a time where I had almost 100 at one time. But I will say that like it fluctuates, right? Like sometimes people cancel, or sometimes they don't get it, or sometimes they go away and they realize they weren't feeling well and they come back. This is kind of a tangent, but the reason I wanted to say this is I don't want you to look at someone else and just assume like because they have this business that's amazing. Well, I have these amazing people on my team, and all together we are impacting about 5,000 families. But myself, I only have 27 customers. The reason that I thought to say this, again, I've never done this in a training, but or a talk or whatever. The reason I wanted you guys to know that is because if I have, let's just pretend, I think I have like 1,800 friends on Facebook. I could be wrong, but just I think that sounds right. If I think about that, and obviously, you know, some of those people we don't know that well, but a lot of those people I do know, and like they're not even on Juice Plus yet. So my point is, you're never going to run out of people to talk to. I still have so many people that I can impact. So when I think about it like that, I always know that I can get to work and I can do it again. And to give you one more little perspective, when my husband quit his job last year, closed his law practice, decided to come home and work with me, I'm going to be really real with you guys. Like, we got rid of an income. So even though mine was more than him, we still zeroed his income, like zeroed it. So hadn't been like saving, we hadn't been setting aside. So it was like this adjustment. So even though I'm making this great income, like it was a different adjustment. And so the reason I tell you that is to say that, like, there was also a period where we had to kind of get real and look at each other and say, okay, like, we want to, and we know we can step this up, and we need to be talking to more people. Why wouldn't we anyway? Because we know how much it's going to impact people. So I just wanted to tell you, it never stops. Like, you and I want to give more away, and I want to do more things, and I want to go visit our girl in Kenya. She keeps asking me, you guys, like almost every day. And I'm like, oh, Judith, I love you. I don't know when we're going to get to all come to Kenya. Like, that is a big thing, but that's like a dream board kind of thing. But we've got other stuff we want to do, like go to Israel. And, you know, I got kids that are getting married soon, and I got like stuff that we're saving for. But I want you guys to know that it's exciting, because this isn't maybe what you asked for, Leah, but I just felt like I wanted to be real about that too, is that there's always going to be areas where you look at your life and you say, okay, where can I grow here? And that you remember, like, I know what to do. I just need to do more of it. And that's so exciting. And so I feel like my husband and I are in a place where we actually are more excited about our business than I think we have been in a really long time. And that's saying a lot, because we're always excited about our business, but just knowing, you know, kind of what we have our hands on and what we get to do is really pretty cool.
Girl, that's so good. Seriously, that is just so good. And I know we have to wrap up here, but what an awesome example. And I hope that gives you guys a lot of vision for what's possible. When you take what we have and you inspire other people, especially with this vehicle of the mission, you're going to impact far more people together. I mean, Bree's impacting 27. But she and her team together are impacting 5,000. I mean, that's huge. And I just think that that gives us such a glimpse at the possibility of what can happen when a group of people come together. And you're not going to necessarily know those 5,000 that come on, you know, but you know a handful of people, and you're inspiring them to reach out to the people in their lives and share what we have. Not everybody, like she said, not everybody's going to get it the first time. The timing's not going to be right every single time for each person. Some people come around years later, but if you stay the course and you are confident in where you're headed and what you have in your hands, people will come back around. I just want to encourage you, you know, with the industry of network marketing in general, how many people do you see start a business and actually stay the course and sustain it? The people will pay attention to the people that do that stay the course and stay consistent. I've seen it over and over. I mean, literally, you guys, like, I had a new team member sign up earlier this month that I've been sharing with for 6 years. And actually just like 3 weeks prior to that had basically said, hey, you know, like, we just kind of established this mission wasn't for her. She loves the healthy living community, but we weren't going to talk about the mission anymore. And then 3 weeks later, she's like, I'm ready to sign up. So you just never know. So, okay, we have one more quick question. Lauren says, how many hours a week would you say you work toward your business with you doing full time?
This is a great question, you guys. I've never actually mapped it out, and it kind of depends on the week, because sometimes if I go on a trip, I'm not doing as much work, but I would say probably 20 hours a week. That's my guess. I mean, it's totally a guess, and probably some weeks I do way more, maybe some weeks I do less if I'm going places, but I love that you get to do this business as you go about life. And I've said that since the beginning. Like, I feel like you can work your life around it and work your business around your life. So you can do both, you know, like I can say, okay, right now I'm spending time with family and I'm going to put a fence around that, if you will. And I put like this kind of imaginary fence kind of around it. And like, that's just what I do. And then, you know, then it goes the other way. When I'm doing my business, sometimes I'm like, hey guys, I'll be downstairs in a little bit, but right now I've got this. And so you can feel really confident about whichever one you're doing. And then you just kind of be all there with whichever one you're working on.
I love that. And, you know, Bree is, to give you an abstract idea, she's far beyond the, you know, 6-figure a year mile marker. So if that tells you anything about what you can do with 20 hours a week, that's what we call residual income. You're not trading time for dollars. And so that's a huge, huge part of what we have in our hands here. So I could stay here all night and ask you questions, but I know we have to wrap up. And I am just so grateful for your time.